Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jack Time and Time Loop, episode 2, The Attack of the Clones.
Is this only episode 2? I feel like we've done more.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, it's episode 2 with the three of us.
That's true. We did some pilots.
So how do you call it? Like, what is it called? The
Attack
Clash
of
the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
Nice.
You didn't get that reference?
No.
He didn't.
Oh, man.
Star Wars
You're not
reference.
a
Star
Wars
Wars.
guy?
Oh,
Yeah. Star Wars
You're a
reference.
Star Trek guy,
I'm a
right?
Star Trek guy.
Ah, yeah.
Not the movie though. I like the series.
Yeah.
I hated the movie Star Trek, but
Yeah, more than
So you know what the T in James T. Kirk stands for, I imagine, if you're a Star Trek guy.
I'm not that much into it. I would
Dude.
say.
Come on. Tiberian is what the T stands for. It's James Tiberian Kirk.
Oh, there you go.
James.
Captain Kirk's middle name is Tiberian.
Oh, okay.
I just
get
know
it.
his
Now
first
I
name.
remember,
Kirk.
yeah.
Kirk. That's it. Not his middle name.
What?
I didn't know his middle name.
Yeah, James Tiberian Kirk.
Just
James.
Kirk, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk
Yeah.
is his last name.
Yeah, that's what I know his last name and his first, and know his middle.
Yeah.
But
James T. Kirk.
James T. Kirk. Okay.
There you go.
Now I get it.
Tiberian.
Yeah.
That's what the T
Tiberian.
stands for.
So here with me are seated Shashi and Brian. Hello. Like
Hello.
2 nails in a hardwood coffin.
Hi, buddy. I like that analogy. That's good. I like
It's a
that.
good analogy.
Hey, Paco. Yeah.
Star
That's
Trek
good.
fan and Star Wars fan.
Yes.
And we're talking about time and space looped and lagged.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. Actually, today I wanted to focus on a little bit on space.
Right.
It's been, let's say, 3 weeks or a couple of weeks. I don't know how many weeks anyway. Not we, but humanity could.
So we
We could say we
Yeah.
took the first image of a black hole.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's been
Yes,
prominent
and that
in
was
the news,
good
yeah.
news. I saw a little video explaining how the image was taken and how it's processed, because it's not very straightforward. It's kind of a hard process, and the image is not as just taking a picture. It's a mixture of a lot of pictures, and you have
Right.
mathematical algorithms and artificial intelligence and things like that to figure stuff out, but it's very interesting. And I thought we could just maybe discuss a little bit of some black hole facts.
So could you
If you
could
guys
you could you explain the process? Do you get like a little
Well,
synopsis? Is
I
it
can give you a
different-
synopsis. I'm not expert,
different
of course.
wavelengths,
Yeah.
different
So
infrared stuff. like
Basically,
that?
it's so far away, and it's so light has. I mean, it gets blurry as far as the farther it is. So the image
I saw the image, and it's just a blurry.
it's blurry, but
yeah.
it could be even more blurry. So it's just a blob.
Right.
The thing is that they have some predictions, mathematical predictions of what it would look like, knowing already what we know of relativistic relativistic physics
Mhm.
and black hole dynamics. And with those predictions in mind, and a lot of pictures taken from that blob, they do let's say another prediction of what the image would look like, and then they pair it with the data that they have, the mathematical data. And so they did that in, I think, 4 places on Earth, which had no communication between each other. So they would do their own predictions each one,
Right.
and then they mix up together and they select the best image. And that image is the combination of I think the best image of the 4, or something like that. It was a long video and it was complex. And again, I'm not mathematician, but
Right,
it was
yeah,
very
but that's-
interesting. And it's just not taking a picture. It was more than that.
Right.
But it was very cool.
That's
Yeah.
super cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I kept it at a very superficial level, because they took a picture of black hole, so that's pretty cool. And then they were telling that this is like the Einstein theory has been proved, and I kept my understanding at that level. I didn't go to the whole process of how they've done it. I'm
Yeah.
sure it should be
It's
super
not that
complicated.
it's not that the Einstein theory has been proven. It was already proven. The thing is that they used relativistic mathematics or
Right.
physics,
Right.
if you can say it like that, to help make that image. So of course, if the image then works, then the mathematics checks out. But it was already fine, right? I guess.
Right. Right.
I mean, relative, like how you say, the general relativity theory and the special relativity theory are already well proven and well established in the scientific community anyway.
I
Since,
think it is proven, but with a lot of constraints, right? It's not a very general, so it only works when for
No,
a few
no, no.
constraints.
No, it works for everything. Everything works. I mean, it's called general and special because it takes a look at a couple of, let's say, sides of what can happen, but it takes the whole thing. The only thing where it doesn't go to is quantum mechanics and quantum physics.
Right.
So above quantum physics, it works. Below quantum physics, only quantum physics work.
Yes.
That's a mind trip in itself, isn't it?
So
It
the
is.
other constraint is like it works when I think when you define that the velocity of light. I mean, it works between the velocity of light and the quantum dynamics. So above that, it doesn't work. When you go faster than light, Einstein theory doesn't work, I guess.
You cannot go faster than light.
No,
That's
you
one of the
can.
things that
No,
he.
you can.
he
You
said.
can. I mean,
You can't.
that is a constraint.
Yeah, but that's a universe constraint. Nothing can go faster than light.
That's
As
not
far
proven.
as far as we can
that's not
tell.
proven yet.
Well, all the data we have suggests that nothing can go faster than light because mathematically it doesn't check out. Because everything that goes as fast as light becomes energy, just pure energy, let's say, or just like
I always thought
I'm
that
no
was the-
physician. I'm no physicist. Sorry, no physicist.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry,
what
but
I've heard too.
but
I'd always thought that was the universal speed limit was the speed of light.
it is.
That's what. That's
I
Like
think-
that is speed of light. The
I
limit
think-
is a constant that is throughout the universe we live in, and again, evidence suggests that, as far as we can tell, light is the fastest thing everywhere. Anyway,
Okay. Well, we can
What-
keep it that.
in vacuum, light in vacuum.
What
is the-
else do we know about black holes? Like, I mean,
We
will these new abilities to take photos of the black holes, will it give us any more information on black holes themselves?
maybe.
I think black holes are something very complex. I think they are. I think the gravitational pull is so much that even the light cannot escape. Right. That's why.
Right.
That's why they call black holes.
Yeah, so I mean that's what we know, that it's a super dense,
Exactly.
enormous thing
Mhm.
floating around the universe, sucking up anything and everything that gets in its path, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I know,
so-
and one more fact that the black holes are basically old stars. When they die, they become
When they
black
collapse,
holes.
right?
I think they have a certain theory where the mass of the star should be way bigger than what we have for the sun, for example. I don't know exactly
So
the numbers.
basically,
Yeah.
when a star is basically something that consumes and produces energy, but it consumes fuel. Let's say between quote marks, they use nuclear fusion, right? No, you look nuclear. No, we do nuclear fusion.
Fusion.
Nuclear fission, right?
No, fusion maybe.
Fission.
Fission? Okay.
No, fusion. Oh, I forgot. No, we do fission. They do fusion.
Fusion, right.
They
Fusion is
fusion.
more powerful.
Yeah, and then so at some point, their core accumulates heavy metals,
Right.
mainly iron, because it has to do something with the nuclei of the atoms. Like if you keep fusioning, then more protons get in, and then it basically transforms elements. And the heaviest element that it can transform is iron, I think. And then iron is at its core, and when it consumes more fuel, let's say, or more other components, everything gets to that, and then more iron in the core. And at some point, let's say there's a law that says that something of a mass cannot have certain radius, or it has to have more radius than something.
Right.
It's basically a relationship between mass and radius.
Right.
And if you fuck up that equation, then it collapses onto itself. And it could give you two things. It could give you a white dwarf or a neutron star, or it can give you a black hole. And a
Oh.
neutron star is basically a star made out of neutrons.
Right.
So it's just neutrons. It's like a moon, I think, or something like that. It's not very big, but it's super heavy.
It's super heavy, right?
It's super heavy,
dense.
very dense and heavy. Or it can give you a black hole,
Right.
depending on the mass, of course, of the sun or the star that
Right.
created it.
Right.
Um,
This leads to a very interesting. I don't know if you guys remember the interstellar plot, where what happens inside the black hole.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
apparently, when
I
these
love
guys,
that movie.
yeah, and
It was a great movie,
when
yeah.
Christopher Nolan made this movie, and he was consulting with all the physicists, so that they at least it's not like people didn't like the whole way on how he what happens inside the black hole, but the physicists they're okay with it. They said they can live with that kind of an assumption.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it was like quite interesting.
Yeah, nobody knows, and as far as we can tell, we cannot know what's beyond the singularity point
Right.
or the event horizon. Anyway,
Right.
the event horizon is the part with light just cannot escape.
Right.
Because the black hole is a singularity point, but then
right.
gravity is pulling everything, regardless of what it is, from the event horizon in. So what we see is the event horizon,
So
basically.
can we say that? Okay, now connecting to the first question, can you do the do the general relativity theory still holds inside the black hole for everything what can happen inside the black hole?
We don't know.
Right.
I think
So
I think we don't know.
this is where the constraints come in when we talk about general relativity.
But it's not because of general relativity. It's because of black hole itself.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that general relativity cannot explain. It's that we have absolutely no idea what's going on there.
Right. Okay.
I mean,
Interesting,
there have
yeah.
been some speculations, but like, who knows? Some people say that it's just a singularity point, and then everything just gets there, and then the more the black hole absorbs mass, the more massive it is, and it just goes bigger, and that's it. Other people say that it could be like a wormhole to some other universe, like a passage or something. I don't know,
Right.
but
Pretty interesting.
yeah,
Phew,
Yeah.
Man,
I have
makes
some.
my head hurt.
Yeah, I have four facts about black holes that I thought were interesting. If you want to know them,
That's what I'm
Shoot
talking
it.
about. Yes, give us the facts.
the first one that I chose, it was the black holes actually radiate.
Black hole
radiation
radiates.
comes out.
They
correct?
radiate, and it's something that is called the Hawking radiation because Steve Hawking discovered it or
Right,
proposed it.
Okay.
And it's funny because normally somebody will say, okay, a black hole is something that absorbs everything. How can it radiate? Because it absorbs, right? So everything goes even light. So how can it? Radiation is basically just emitting a certain particle, right? At the end.
Right.
Right.
For example, as humans, if we radiate infrared light, it's just photons. We just produce photons, right?
Right.
The thing is that there's something called the particle-antiparticle pair creation, which means that from nothing in existence, two particles are created, particle and antiparticle. So, for example, an electron and then its antiparticle, which I forgot the name, and then they join together again.
Anti-electron.
Yeah, anti-electron then, I guess.
Yeah, it's an.
I don't know it, but
Yeah,
anti-electron.
it is. Yeah.
And so in the event horizon of the black hole, so in the very limit, you can have also those anti-pair creations. And when that happens, one particle gets absorbed and the other one escapes. And that's the Hawking radiation.
So that's the theory that it's.
And so
with
you can say that black
Jesus.
holes have temperature because they radiate. So they're hot.
so
Hot. They can be, they have temperature, basically. That's what the...
just a tangential thing. So that means that even sun radiates, but it also absorbs anti-photons and anti-particles.
Everything absorbs as well and
Right.
radiates.
Okay. Got it.
But
cool. Very interesting.
Normally, every body in the universe radiates. But we thought that
Brian,
black
you
holes
do.
didn't radiate.
Brian, you do radiate. You know that.
Oh, constantly.
You radiate, yes.
It's a problem. Actually.
it's a problem.
Yeah. We radiate. We do radiate. Anyway. Well, that was the first one. And then the second one, which is my favorite by far, is that if you substituted our sun by a black hole which radius is 3 kilometers, we wouldn't see the difference orbit-wise. Meaning, okay, no light and no warm and whatever, but
Right.
Earth would keep rotating and just spinning around
That's the
it.
You
difference
mean
in the
3
density. huh?
meters?
3 kilometers.
3 kilometers. Wow.
That's the difference in the density. Huh?
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
So
incredible.
basically, you substitute two bodies that are exactly the same mass.
But then there'll be no sunlight.
There'll be no
Right.
sunlight, but you
Right,
could
right.
you could keep just spinning. So the orbit of the Earth and it would spinning, you will see no difference.
Right.
All we'll be starving and
It's-
die and whatever.
It's
But
a dark world. Yeah. Got it.
so and something called the Schwarzschild radius, I think. Like, what's the Schwarzschild radius of an object is what its black hole equivalent would be
Mhm.
if you compress all of that mass
Yeah.
into a black hole. And
And-
for the sun, it's 3 kilometers.
And our sun is a relatively small sun.
It is a really small sun, and you have 3 kilometers over a black hole. So you can imagine how super dense that thing would be
Right. It's incredible
and massive.
Wow.
to think about that.
To think that Earth would and
incredible.
all the other planets on our solar system would just spin around that
Right,
thing,
right.
no problem, just following their lives.
Very
That's
interesting.
crazy. Then the third one that I have is that the singularity point, which is the center of the black hole,
Mhm.
the laws of physics do not exist, or we think they don't exist, because there's literally no possible it's not possible to conceive anything that will have infinite density but zero volume, according to the laws of physics that we know today.
Infinite density.
Infinite density and zero volume.
Yeah.
So infinite density, so concentrating a lot of mass in a very, very tight space.
Pinprick, like a.
infinite,
point,
so
like
infinite
a-
small but infinite dense. So we don't.
That's mind-boggling, man.
Yeah,
My
and that's what I read,
God.
that we guess that they don't work because if you follow what we know about black holes today and universe today, everything in the black holes just concentrates to the singularity point, which is infinitely small.
And then shoots out into another dimension.
Oh, but whatever, I don't know, maybe.
Ah.
But it was fucking crazy. I thought about it.
It is. It's mind-boggling. You can't wrap your head around it, man.
Yeah, and then the fourth one, which you may know, of course, is that there's a supermassive black hole in the center of a galaxy, and that's
Yeah.
how we rotate the galaxy.
Does it have a name?
I think it has a name.
Does
Yeah,
our supermassive black hole in the center of our Milky
It-
Way galaxy
I
have
think
a
it
name?
has a name. It has to be like a weird alphanumerical name, like
Mm.
A32, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, we spin around a
Makes
black hole.
sense.
But I guess you knew that already. That's a
Well, can
pretty
we just
common.
name it Bob? Like, keep it simple.
Bob.
Like Bob the black hole.
Bob the black hole.
Supermassive black hole. Excuse
Bob.
Sorry, Bob. Didn't mean to.
But if,
Supermassive black
but
hole.
think about it. If you think about the radius that I proposed before about the sun, our
Right.
sun becomes a 3 kilometer radius black hole.
Right.
The supermassive black hole we have in the center of a galaxy
Think
is
about the density in that.
what? Yeah,
Jeez, oh man. Because the supermassive black hole is what, like it's like light years across, right?
it has to
You
be.
remember
Yes,
something like
it
that?
has to be.
It's
Yeah,
light
yeah,
years
yeah.
across. So that's it's unfathomable.
It's
unfathomable.
And like that, we have like supposedly infinite or a lot of them because each galaxy is supposed to spin around something very massive.
Right, right.
Black holes typically, but
Just the sheer size and immensity,
fucking incredible.
expanse.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. So those are excellent facts, Paco. Thank you for bringing those up.
Thank you, Paco.
But
Thanks
as
to
you
you
were,
guys.
as you were stating those facts, and especially the first one about the size of our sun being replaced by a 3-kilometer sized black hole, the only thing I could think of is okay, so what would your preference of apocalypse be? Would
Wow.
it be
So
lack of sun and heat? Would it be zombie? Would it be?
I think without sun, there's no life, right? It's very
Well,
difficult
Yes.
to have.
If the
with,
sun went
with
away
sun,
tomorrow,
there's no life, but I think trees would. I think we have enough oxygen in the atmosphere to live good 1,000 years, I guess, even
That's-
with no
yeah, so
sun.
that's
Oh, if
my
sun
question.
disappears now, you mean?
if the
right?
sun goes away tomorrow, that's an apocalyptic event.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess
would
we have to go
not prefer
underground
that.
to the
Right,
core of the
we would have
earth
to
where
for
it's
heat.
warmer.
Right, exactly.
but
You'd
that's-
have to go closer for heat,
Yeah.
closer in the ground for heat.
That's a tough apocalypse. It's very tough.
that one would be
It's very tough.
dude. Would you a nuclear winter? You know, where
Yeah.
the whole world was frozen. And there was
Because
nuclear
of a
fallout.
nuclear bomb, I
Right.
guess. Yeah.
Like
Wow.
which apocalypse would you think you would thrive in
You know,
more?
right now I'm playing Last of Us,
No, yeah.
and that's a zombie apocalypse about a fungus or whatever.
Yeah.
I would totally not survive the zombie apocalypse.
No, you don't think so?
I mean, the chances that you survive that thing, and the game presents the events in a very realistic way, let's say, and the chances of me surviving that thing are very low, and or anybody's, for that matter, unless
Sure.
you have like super surviving skills and a lot of chance, or a lot of luck. Anyway, I don't know, because they get infected if they're bitten, if they're spot on
Right.
blood,
Spat.
sorry for the
No.
conjugation, spat blood on, or if you breathe these spores that's caused the whole thing. So if you breathe the spores, then you become zombified as well. So very easy to get zombified,
Right. Right.
at least in that
I mean,
scenario.
a
So
virus, yeah, any
Yeah.
any fungal virus.
I
But then
think
which one would you like?
I
Which-
think-
which apocalyptic world would you guys like to live in?
Me, I'm all
Or to-
about zombie. I'm
So-
all about
classical,
zombie apocalypse.
classical
Classic
runner zombie. Okay, what classical
would
zombie or
I would prefer
or
not-
28 days later zombie?
Yeah, see, the running zombies, I would prefer if they were a bit slower. I think I would up my chances. Because, I'm in pretty good shape, but I'm going to be 42 this year, and, I'm tired of running, man. I just, I don't want to run anymore.
It's like that movie, right?
But with zombies, you have to run, right?
I mean, yeah.
It depends on the type
there
of
would be
zombies. The
some
classical
ru-
zombies go
There
slow.
would be
go,
some running
but
involved, but that's what I'm saying. The pack, I would prefer the slower ones.
What's the name of that movie? The one with the guy from the Social Network, the actor, and
Oh, Zombieland.
Zombieland,
Yeah.
he says the same thing. Like fat people got infected the first
Right,
because they couldn't
exactly.
run.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like to be a part of this movie. You know, from dusk till dawn.
Oh, so vampires.
Oh,
That's-
vampires.
That's not bad.
But
yeah.
vampires is not necessarily an apocalypse
Yeah,
because
that's true.
they're
That's
intelligent,
true.
right?
That's
So
true.
But
well,
if
I mean,
they
I
made
don't.
themselves known, it would change the world as we know it. So I guess you could consider it as some type of an apocalypse.
Yeah.
And if they decided that, well, okay, but they have to keep us around for food, obviously.
Right.
You know, that may lead to something like I Am Legend. Like you have a race, a different race or a different
yeah.
species of,
Right.
let's say, beings that are intelligent, and then you are the minority, and then at the end they kill you because.
Right.
And I think at the end of
Okay.
I'm Legend, he gets hanged.
Okay.
They do a little. They judge him, and then they hang him
Right.
just because he's human. They're not human, but.
Right.
I think I'll change my mind. I'll prefer a Mad Max kind of an apocalyptic world.
Oh, okay.
Wait, so end of like okay, because I don't know. I remember Mad Max. It's like nuclear. No.
Yeah, I think Mad
It's
Max
like-
is nuclear holocaust,
Nuclear
where
holocaust.
everything is just burnt and, you know,
Yeah.
the
Right desert and very rugged.
Right,
And
right,
yeah.
right.
You know what I would
That would
choose
be
actually
nice.
as apocalypse? Economic disaster, meaning
Ooh.
that's the internal model that we have of economics
Right.
just
Sure, right.
explodes for
So
whatever reason, and then everybody
So then civilization collapses.
or something happens because
Right.
if you use the nuclear winter, the nuclear bomb, whatever, half of the population, even more, just gets wiped out, right? But in this situation, everybody's alive, and we have to like, what do we do?
Figure out a way to.
Yeah, and that'd be very interesting. I
very
think.
interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think
I'm just
that's the
thinking.
world we are in already, in a way. But yeah,
Interesting.
Oh.
a bit of flavor of that is like if you go and live in any of the tribes in Africa or in Amazon or places. I think that's where
Where there is no monetary system.
there's no monetary system. It's mostly power driven, based on the looks or based on the strength they have, the physical strength.
Then
they
Mad
have
Max
it,
style.
how beautiful the women are. I think they really define how you define hierarchies in the tribes.
Yeah.
I probably will go back to that kind of.
I guess we'll go to feudal times. I guess right, a feudal structure.
I think we go back
Like
to the basics,
like
right?
a very strong leader that is a dictator basically, and then
No, a strong leader. I mean, if you go back to Animal Kingdom, you go to the open jungles and you see how the power is distributed. It's the beauty and the strength that defines man and feminine kind of authorities, right?
But in your apocalyptic scenario, it's just a financial collapse. It's not necessarily. We still have power. We still have technology.
But how,
Yeah,
how
true,
do you
but
have power if there's
exactly. So
right
now
power
the-
is all money,
now that
right?
money is out of the equation, so money
Right.
doesn't mean anything. I guess yeah,
So now it
weapons and strength or sheer.
Yeah, so I mean, the strength defines power and money.
When I say power, I mean electricity. I mean, we still
Oh.
have the electricity. Not
Well,
like
yeah,
there
but
was
you will have
not
nobody
like a
to.
solar flare apocalypse scenario where
But-
all the electronics go dead, which then I guess would cause a financial collapse. Which then, okay, so let's say that. So let's say your apocalypse is a huge solar flare hits the earth.
Yeah.
All the electronic goes down. Therefore, our economic system fails, and like that.
No, it wouldn't fail, right? It'd go back to 200 years ago before electricity.
Okay, true.
You can still
And
use
more of a
paper.
trade and barter kind of thing,
Yeah, exactly.
like
Yeah.
Mad Max.
But I'm wondering more of an economic disaster keeping and electricity and energy, because then if money goes away, you have no motivation for people to work on these plans or whatever. So then
Mhm.
the whole system of I'm working for money doesn't work anymore. And I guess you can go back to trading, but how did you trade like 8 hours of
Not
in
true.
a fucking hydraulic? I don't know.
I think you go back to I don't know in Europe, but I mean if you go to Asia, I think you go back to the basics of cultivation. So if you have land, that means you're rich because you can make your food.
Mhm.
But then
You start trade. I think you can be very
So we'll go back-
self-reliant on if you have land and few animals and cattle.
so
I think you can live.
in small areas maybe you go back to trading, that's fine. But what about big cities like, for example, this one or New York or whatever? What will happen there?
Do you think it would be a
Interest.
reboot?
I don't know.
You know,
That's
like
what
a reboot
I
back
was
to a
wondering about the
couple hundred years?
feudal system.
Which
Like,
I
I think
we
the
all
cities
should
would
go to-
definitely collapse. Don't you think the cities would just fall apart? Like people would
They-
just lose their shit.
they
Interesting,
would,
right?
I think, yeah.
When there's no money, so nobody's paying for the rent. Nobody has any money to pay for anybody.
Right.
So what
It becomes the law.
happens?
It's become the law of the fittest.
Law of the land.
the law of the land.
You
But
think there's 8 million people in New York City. Food's going to run out quick. And if you can't, like you said, cultivate your own food, if you
Right.
can't live off the land, because there's no land in New York City, it's all
No.
concrete. There's
right.
8 million people there. Like, shit's going to go crazy.
So
Yeah.
there's no food.
There is food, but it's
The city,
it's badly distributed, I would say.
to me,
So if
to me,
it's
and-
badly distributed, then for the people who have food, they'll live. For the people who don't have food, they'll fight for. Like in Venezuela, what's happening right now,
That's bad shit.
right?
there,
I mean,
huh?
that's exactly what
It's
it
a
is.
shame.
There are few people having all the food, and the other people
I
are
guess-
starving. They're fighting, and they
I
want
guess
to.
it will go like that, maybe. Yeah.
I think it'll be a big civil war.
I think in any apocalyptic situation, you want to get as far away from the city as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
That's rule number one.
No,
that's number one
of,
on my
of all the
on my
movies that we've
list.
watched, I think that's the
Right.
best.
Get the hell
That's the
away from the
best.
city.
Makes sense,
Get away from people.
right?
That's rule number one.
That's actually a horrible thought, because it means that internally and naturally we're bad beings. Because if you need to get away from everybody, it means that you cannot naturally collaborate, which means
Yes.
that there's something.
I think there's
Which
a
means that
tipping point.
we are social beings, but only if we have like a reason to be. Otherwise,
Only
we're
if
not.
it's not depending on survival. I mean, if it's not survival. People do horrible things. Desperate people render desperate deeds is what I always go back to.
Right.
And if people suddenly become desperate,
Mhm.
then the desperate deeds become that more heinous, I think,
Right. But
But that's at an individual level, right?
on an individual level.
But then we have already proven through history that is being in groups and being social that actually.
For the species, it's better.
I think it all depends.
What-
There's a tipping point. Social
Sure.
gathering makes
It's-
sense when until a certain number. After a certain number, if it's all competition that is coming within the group, then it becomes negative.
Sure.
If it's all collaborative until like I don't have the skill, you have the skill, so we can collaborate. But if there are two IT people, then you guys are competing to get the spot, right? So that's what happens in big cities. Like there's so many people, very little opportunities and food. That's
Right.
where the thing happens. But I think if you keep the tribe smaller or the group smaller, I think that's when you can be very strong as a community.
When I get away from the cities, I'm not saying you guys can't come with me, but I mean just you two. That's it. You can bring your girlfriends. That's cool, but just you guys.
But then that's a different thing, because now you're speaking about trust.
Right.
But you're still going social. You're still going in a group.
For sure.
Whereas
But I
the
have to-
typical image, especially for example in the US, is just going me by myself and that's it. Nobody else.
But don't
I don't
you
tru-
think
Not
you need to
true.
trust the people
Not
that you
true.
take with you?
maybe
at
maybe
some
maybe your
level.
spouse or maybe your kids, and then that's it. You don't
I
trust
think-
anybody else, right?
Or
No, I
you
think
would.
you can trust some other people.
I think Americans are very strong as a group. They always have this thing. They're never lone wolves. I think that's not the American nature. I feel.
No, I'm saying American because you have like the get off my lawn and then
Yeah, but
those
it's
sort of things. But
Right,
Yeah.
right.
it's an stereotype. It's an stereotype. I know that. But-
I think this is just a normal thing. But I think in any big events, I think it should be a group of people.
So
yeah.
small communities would form,
For sure.
Yeah.
or small groups at least.
For sure.
Right.
And
I
you would
think-
do you think that they will become organized and then they would separate, or they will be inclusive?
Yeah, it depends.
Because then it's the
I
same.
think you'll have two different. I think, like most movies or shows, finally, I think you're going to have groups that are. What's the word I'm looking for? Want to just to sustain what they do and not
yeah.
worry about the outside and just
Yeah.
be able to sustain themselves. And then there's other groups who are going to rape and pillage.
And that's
Right.
that's also one thing, that this raiding or pillaging mentality. Like if you can collaborate, because it's clear that if you collaborate in a healthy way and in a social way, everything is better for everybody. But long term, if you raid, you have immediate reward because
Right.
you raid somebody, but at expense of somebody else suffering.
Right.
So
And history shows that.
History shows
the
that a
same- the
lot-
same thing. That's part of our nature as well.
and that is a horrible thing to think, I guess.
It is.
That we will pillage and raid, or at least a lot of people would pillage and raid
Yeah.
by default. Like they don't even think about collaborating. Go, dude, I'm going bananas. I'm just killing anybody that I encounter.
But I
I'm
think-
raping. I'm stealing.
But I think the collaboration comes to define this group of people, right? Because you cannot do it alone. If you want to ride some other camp, you need to have a big number to do that.
Right.
And for that, you collaborate. So collaboration still holds true, either to do evil according to whatever is evil,
Yeah.
because when the world is not fair, then there's nothing right and wrong. So you go back to that. You need to collaborate even to do bad stuff, because if there's other
Right.
group is bigger
Okay,
than you,
maybe
then
I misdefine collaboration.
No,
What I
that's
mean
it.
collaboration is collaboration without human suffering. I don't know,
Right.
I would
or
say-
expense of others anyway.
I think this leads to very tricky questions. Like, I mean, all the moralities what we define is very much just to keep us civilized. This is not this is not our animal instincts, because at the end of the day we are animals as well, right? So when you push us to the corner, you remove the food, that's when you get back to the survival mode. And when it's a survival mode, it's war. It's like
But
there's no right and wrong. You
but
just go and
but it's just basically what you're saying is that you go to your basic instincts because you want your pack to survive. Let's put it that way.
you
Your
want
pack.
yourself to
So-
survive. I don't think you'll think about the pack, and like-minded people come together to form the pack.
Sure, and that's basically goes back to my original statement, where you're going to have packs of like-minded people. Some will say, you know what, we can sustain ourselves and we don't need to hurt others to do that, and others will say, listen, I want that immediate reward, and that is, I don't want to have to put any work into it, and this is how I'm going to do it because my pack is stronger than your pack.
Right.
Yeah. So then, regardless of personalities, what would be more natural, or what would be at a lower level of consciousness? The rating thing, or the more, let's say, socialized or civilized way?
I think if you want to have your pack survive, I think you need to have a people who will defend you, right? That's how in a societal structure you have military, you have army, you have people who would fight. And if you look at the moral values of them, is very different than the civil people, right? So I think now it depends what you define as a pack, right? Because whom do you want to be? I want to be a military guy, or I want to be a guy who is this. I think I was never into military, so I think I don't know what is that world like.
Yeah.
So for me, I would just be myself, what I'm good at.
I think you can be both. I like the idea of the warrior monk, where
Yeah,
you
I mean,
can
if you
say, listen, I want to live my life peacefully, but I want to also be able to defend my group and my pack, because I know the nature of myself, but I consciously want to make that effort to live peacefully.
I think it's very interesting because I never came across that, but this is what I want to acquire as well. You want to have, if somebody attacks you right now,
But that's
I think I'll just
okay.
I'll die
Having
in a few minutes.
but having
I don't even know how to fight back. It's like, well, okay, I'm done. That's it.
But if you have a defense system, you're thinking about other humans, because if you have a defense system against stuff, fine, but you're thinking about other humans that can be harmful to you. So at some point or some level, you're kind of assuming that everybody or some people are gonna go back. Like,
You have to be a realist about it. You have to know that that's our nature.
but that's what I'm gonna go to. Like, I would like to know what's more basic. If the instinct of surviving through, let's say, violence, or the instinct of surviving through collaboration without harming others.
I think that they can go together.
Yeah,
You think they're in the same level?
I think
They can I'm not saying they're at the same level. They can go together, because if you
No,
don't,
of course they go together, but I'm saying what's their primal? What's your primal? What's
I think humans have both in them. All humans have both of those instincts in them, and I think, like anything else, as a human being, you have to make a choice, and whether you're going to do the easy thing or the hard thing.
and
But I think they're both there, and I think any three of us could go one way or the other, quite honestly, depending on the situation.
I'm not saying you against the corner. I'm just saying in general,
No,
because
that's what I
of
mean,
course
just-
anybody against the corner will
Right.
be
It depends
surviving mode automatically, right?
I think
Well,
it'll be dependent on the situation.
I think it depends on. I think hardware-wise, we're all the same people. I mean, the way we are built up is the same, right? We are all kind of animals, and we have our animal instincts. And it's about how much we can push and how much of morality you have programmed yourself. So, in the crisis, would we eat each other? I don't know. Humans will eat humans, maybe. I don't know. So it can go to that level, right? So it depends on the scarcity of the food. Why wouldn't you attack? If there's no food and the only way you can get food is by attacking, you would attack.
If the three of us were in a plane crash in the Andes on the mountain, I would let you guys eat me. I would be totally cool with you guys eating me to sustain yourselves.
If you die, if you happen to die,
Just throwing that out there in case that ever happens.
hey,
You
I
know,
would
right?
I'd say the same, but only if I'm dead. Don't
Please
kill me
don't-
first.
please
Don't kill me first.
Please don't kill me and eat me. But
Yeah.
I would probably not survive long.
What's the name of the
So
movie?
therefore-
I think you would be the
It's
survivor.
called the movie's called Alive. Which
Alive,
is the,
Alive.
Which is the true story of
It's a true story of a
the-
Peruvian, no, or
with
Chilean?
the soccer team. Yeah.
The soccer
From
team,
Peru,
Brazil,
Peruvian or
Brazil.
Chilean or
Yeah.
something.
Brazil, right?
Brazil?
Yeah.
No, I think they were Spanish speaking, I think. I don't
Okay,
know.
maybe.
Whatever. But yeah.
Interesting.
I would thank you, by the way. That's a nice it's a nice
My
gesture.
pleasure, buddy. My pleasure.
I would offer also my body if I'm dead, of course.
Yeah.
But dead, not to the actual verge of dying. Like, oh, Paco, just a couple of minutes, you'll be fine. No, just
I
let me
think-
die first, peacefully or as peacefully as possible. Then you can eat my stuff if you want.
I think I'll die naturally there.
Dips on the thighs.
Yeah, for sure. That's would be the best part. I think.
No,
The
but I
dice
think,
are the
I
mushy
think there's
part.
like a stupid diversion for the whole thing, but I think it's like how much we push each other, right?
Yeah,
Well, now I'm getting hungry.
I'm getting
So
hungry
maybe
too.
we should wrap it up.
Because you're hungry. The other day you had to go pee, and now you had to eat.
Those we're just talking about cannibalism, so I was getting hungry. But
Oh, that's what made you hungry. I'm just getting hungry because of the time it is. But you just thought about cannibalism and
I think it came to my mind because last week I went for a theater called Sweeney Todd.
yes.
oh,
So
Sweeney
the-
Todd.
So there's a barber who kills the people, and then there's a lady who makes the meat pies, and
Yeah,
people
meat
love
pies.
the taste. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was the plot was not so appealing, but the play was really fun. It was a comedy. It was dark comedy, but it was really nice.
Is it like that in the beginning? Was a thought about as a play, comedic play, or
I don't know. At least the whole incident was very humorous. It's not for me, for everybody. Actually, everybody was laughing when he was killing people. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was like, I don't know. You said you saw the play as well, right?
Oh, of
Was it
course, yeah.
fun as well, or
Yeah.
they made it very serious?
Oh, I like dark comedy, so I
So it was humor at that
so
time.
I definitely found it humorous.
I thought it was a musical.
It's
It's a musical too. Yeah,
completely
yeah.
musical.
Yeah.
I sat through 3 hours of musical. I never heard any of these songs before.
How could
Yeah.
you withstand 3 hours of a music?
And I was not bored.
You weren't.
No, I wasn't bored. I was
Wow.
not looking
good
forward
one.
that it'll finish soon or something.
That's
So
interesting.
It was
definitely a
really
good
cool.
one.
They
Yeah.
they kept me engaging.
Wow, I have a really hard time with musicals. Any musical.
Did you see them live? You will change your mind.
I watched opera, which
Maybe.
kind of doesn't count as a
Not opera, a complete theatrical with musical.
Mhm.
It's very different. I cannot see it
No,
on a
not
television
really.
as a movie.
Not really.
My first experience was Phantom of the Opera in the Vegas. Fantastic. You know, the entire band playing. It was like, wow. So many goosebumps you get. It's like,
Yeah.
wow. A movie cannot give you that.
hmm
At the same time, you cannot see a complete musical. At least I cannot.
Yeah. You know, and wrapping things around, that makes me think about a little thing that I lived in back in Madrid. We went to see a play. I don't remember what play it was. I just don't remember. But I remember that one of the characters was a woman, and the woman at some point showed her breasts. For whatever reason, I don't know.
She
It was
showed her breast.
yeah, she showed her breasts. I don't know what the scene was. I don't remember. I just remember that she saw her breast, and we weren't in the first row. We weren't like in the, I don't know, in the middle of the hall. So it was kind of far away, but you can tell. I mean, you could see them, right? And I felt embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I was blushing, and I remember that. That was a weird feeling because
That was your
you
teenage.
see. No, I wasn't really teenage. I was like 20 or something, but like when you see porn or watch porn or TV stuff, when it's in the TV, you don't. It's a different feeling that seeing
Right.
on the screen, that seeing actually, let's say real life, but you're not even close. You're far away. It's just somebody else. Let's say 20 meters from you, but you get blushed like, oh, why is she so embarrassed? And you watch porn every day. You watch God knows what, and it doesn't make you blush. And it's not because you're with friends, because they're always blushing as well. They were like, it was a weird feeling, the fact of seeing that in real life. And I think that relates to what you said of when you see things, let's say in a play
No.
context, it's a different experience that seeing them in a different.
No,
Context.
no. This entirely different dimension.
Okay. I was speaking about my experience with breast, but I think
But you
it
should
goes
go
the
to
same with
Amsterdam, you should
swearing
go-
or violence or
Right.
right.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know,
Yeah.
or even physical comedy. I mean,
Yeah, could
No,
be.
for sure. It's a different. I think it's a different. It's a different sensory intake when you see it live.
Yeah.
Than when you see it on a screen, for sure.
I agree
but
to
it's
that.
not even there. It's not even that. Like, I would understand that like right away if it was in front of me, right, in 2 meters from me. But it's
Yeah.
so far away. But still, being far away, you get that thing. At least I got it.
Interesting.
I don't know.
You're very empathetic. You're putting yourself in her place and
Well, she
feeling
was
a bit embarrassed because you had to.
Well, she
be a-
was in charge of it because everybody was like, oh, and she was just showing her breast, and she was the main actress, I forgot, or whatever,
part of the art.
one of the main characters. So, yeah,
Was
I don't know.
Les
Was
Miserables? Was that the play? Les Miserables?
no, it wasn't Les Miserables. No, I haven't watched it. I only watched the movie of Les Miserables. It was some. It's a play from a Spanish writer. I forgot. One of the we call the golden century or the golden era. But
Nice.
I think late 1800s to mid 1900s, something like that. But I might be wrong. It was long ago. So
Cool. Interesting.
anyway, guys,
Cool.
everybody's feeling hungry, so we
Yep.
must wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up for this time. Next time we make it bigger.
Yeah, that's what she said.
For sure.
Yes. Okay,
I don't need to
You
say
took
that.
the low-hanging fruit on that one, didn't you, buddy?
dude. It was easy. It's shooting to the ball, right, in basketball. Anyway. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Shashi.
Thank you, Paco.
I'll see
Thank
guys
you,
next
Paco
time.
MC.
The MC.
And bon appetit.
Bon
Yeah.
appetit, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.
See you.